So check this out. This week's episode of Restoring Christine, we brought the trunk lid back to the car, fixed all the alignment of all the gaps, trimmed some things back that were a little bit long, got the trunk latch mechanism working, got the latch attached, welded to the floor pan, got the floor pan attached to the tail panel. All this in this one episode of Restoring Christine. If you're interested in seeing how we got this done, stay tuned. Alright, welcome back to another episode of Restoring Christine. My name is Bill. This 56 Chevy Bel Air behind me. Her name is Christine. This channel is Restoring Christine. It's the video blog that I'm documenting this build, the restoration of this car that I've had for 17 years now. We're going bumper to bumper, doing it all by myself, in my own garage, my own two hands, every stitch of it. So let's show you what we're going to get into today. Alright, the last two episodes that we did was on the putting the body back on the frame. So that was in episode number 46, I believe. And then the very last episode, which was removing all the inner braces and cleaning up all the edges where the braces weren't getting that greenhouse cleaned up. That was episode number 47. So now this will be episode number 48, and what we're going to get into today is going to be the trunk area. So this is an area that when I had the body off the frame, I did a lot of work. I replaced the trunk pan. So there's a couple of videos out there on that if you were interested. There's episode number 31 is where we unboxed the trunk pan, and I gave a review of that, and then right after that I rolled right into the installation. So that's episode number 32, the installation of this trunk pan. Some other things that we did back in this area. Very early on in my channel, I did episode number 16 was on the reconstruction of this rear end cap below my tail light, and then episode number 18 was an interesting one. It was mostly time-lapse, doing the same thing on the opposite side. So if you're interested in those two, those is episodes 16 and 18. Another episode that I did was on the refurbishment of this trunk lid. So my trunk lid had the lower section was totally corroded. The outer skin was corroded. So what I did is I cut that out, and I put a patch panel in that was store-bought, and then I cut some sheet metal out, and then I replaced the bottom 3 or so inches of the skin, and that all came out very nicely. I also had to change the shape of it. I had to change the edge to align with the trunk area because it was pinching in some areas. So that was episode number 25, I believe. We'll put a link to it up here. But where I'm at now is I'm about to put the trunk lid back on the car, check the alignment, check the fitment. My tail panel has never been attached, so it's just floating there. It's attached to the two ends, but I never attach it to the floor pan. And I wanted to bring my trunk lid to the car before I did that. Another thing, one of my viewers pointed out, it's like, hey, you made those two end caps, you haven't checked it against your bumper. Well, that's a very good idea, so I'm going to do that. I brought my bumper out of storage, and I'm going to temporarily mount that and just see how it aligns with the two end caps, and use the bumper, the trunk lid, and the floor pan here, the trunk pan, I'm sorry, to go ahead and get this tail panel to make sure that gap is all aligned just right. And then the very last thing that we need to do, actually the second to last thing that we need to do, is I need to fit in my latch. I need to put this back in here, and that's going to affect how this tail panel fits. One quick little side note, I'm sure you can see this. So that's not a wound, it's actually surgery. I had surgery this past week to remove something from my temple. So I'm trying to keep that clean, trying not to get it dirty, and so I'm like limited as far as what I can do. I feel pretty good, everything's fine, good prognosis. But anyway, that's what this is. So when you see this, no, that wasn't a garage accident. That was a an outpatient surgery. But anyway, we're good. So I got my bumper on just temporarily. I just have a handful of bolts on it that are hand tight, and it's starting to look like a little bit of a car again. So it's Christine's bumper. It needs a little bit of work. It probably needs to be replated. Might need to be straightened out a little bit, but I'm looking at the fitment, and I think it's just got the normal flaws from the factory. You know, it's like that's where the center is, just a little bit off. Over here, it's off similarly, so it looks like maybe it needs a shift to the left. But one of the things that I saw, this is ridiculous. I didn't notice this taking it apart. So there's a bracket on the passenger side, and it fits nice. It's got a bolt here and a bolt up here, and there's a hole to clear a rivet. So 2 bolts and a hole to clear a rivet. So this thing is specific to the side, but check the other one out. It's down here because this is a passenger side bracket. And what the heck? Look at that. It's like it's upside down. So I got to get a new one of those. All right, I got it on there. Like I said, I did it by myself. I spared you the video of seeing that. I knew I didn't even tape it. So, man, so I got it in place. And one thing I want to point out is before I took it off, when I had it in alignment before, I took some primer and I spritzed it right here and over there. So that way I know when I put my trunk lid back, I can align it on the hinges, and I can have the trunk lid and the hinge, their relationship to one another will be exactly what it was when I had everything fitting. So I did that, but then there's 2 things I want to point out to you. You're gonna see me sweat more in this video than probably any other video that I've had in this series so far. It is like 95 to 98 degrees outside, and I live in South Louisiana. I'm on the outskirts of New Orleans, and I'm telling you, we have humidity right now that is thick as soup. It is blazing hot, and there is no evaporation, so I'm gonna get polluted in this episode. Second thing is, I got some neighbors back here that just put in a pool last summer, and they're having a pool party. So yay them, they're all out there having a good time in the sun, and meanwhile I'm in here suffering, because this is what we like to do. I need to be examined. I need my head examined. All right, so I've been adjusting the alignment for a few minutes, and my paint marks worked pretty well for the in and out, but it did not work at all for the lateral side to side. I was about a 1/4 inch out on the hinges, and a 1/4 inch on the hinges made like a 1/16 of an inch difference, maybe 3/16 if that, on the alignment on 2 sides. So now I got it where I like it. It's fitting nicely, at least my seams. So put this down. Got good alignment, good gap here, a good gap all the way up here, really good gap over here. You know, for 1956 now, okay, this is not a show car. You know, the fitment wasn't all that great. So if you watch my the trunk lid video, I had to really shave a lot off of this and then move the edge back, and I welded it. And what I'm looking at now is I got decent alignment on the tail panel too, but this corner is diving in a 1/4 inch, and this corner is actually overlapping. It's got good gap to here, and then it comes this way, and it comes too far that way. So I've got to rework this radius. I'm gonna have to grind that off and then weld it and redo that a little bit. Let's get on top of it, and you can see it. But this corner here, it's like a 1/4 inch in. If I close it, you can see it doesn't really fit. So this needs to come out a little bit, but the alignment down the tail panel looks good until you get about to here, and then it starts diverging. This is in, this is out, and then when you get down to here, the gap, watch the gap. So the gap is good coming down here. It gets a little bit tight right here, and I need to shave that back. So I'm gonna have to take that in, grind that down, re-weld that, and then see what I need to do is to get these two edges to fit here and to fit over there. So there's some fitment on the bottom of the tail panel that I need to take care of with the welding machine. And we need to do that. Let's start sweating. Oh, it's just nothing but heat. Let's go. Alright, that's welded up. Looks good. Got a bead all the way around the here. I had a lot of meat over here, so when I grinded this up apart, I still had enough left over. I don't have to weld that, so I just had to weld it up to here. So now I just need to grind that, smooth it down. Let's just take a quick look and see what it looks like as I close it. Let's see. Oh yeah, grind it up. That's good. Let's do it. Like it pretty. That is smooth as can be. That's nice. That is really nice. And look at that. Oh yeah. Man, that totally fixed all the gap. It fixed the clearance, but when I was tapping it, it fixed the in and out. It looks like it's actually just a little bit now. It's a little bit proud. It's out a little bit this way, but I can take care of that when I do the body work. So right now, there's no more welding to be done in this. Now I need to turn my attention over to that side. Over there. So that's what we're going to do next. All right, so this is the corner. It's got to come out about 1/4 of an inch here. It's a lot. 1/4 of an inch here, so it tapers from nothing to 1/4, and then from 1/4 to nothing. And I put 2 marks here and here. And now I'm trying to figure out how to do this. And I'm looking at it. It's already sweeping a little bit. So I'm gonna try to hit it with the dolly and a hammer and see what we get, and then we'll take it from there. Hopefully it works. All right, I'm going to go about this 2 ways. One, I've got this flange tipped out about as far as I think I can. It's not quite flush with this, but that's about as far as I can tip it out. But what I'm going to do is this tail panel, it's straight here, and then it's wide here, and it's the same thing on the other side. So the thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my grinder with a cutting wheel, and I'm going to cut a sliver out right here, and I'm going to tuck that line in. This never did fit right, this tail panel. It's bumpy here, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to cut a slot right there, and then push this surface in, and then re-weld it and grind it, and hopefully that'll take care of it. I'm going to have to do the same thing on the other side. It's just what we got to do. Alright, let's take a quick look at it before I grind it. So that's it. It should be feeling good now. Oh yeah, it's much better. Much better. I'm going to grind it now, and then this side should be done. That's doing pretty good. It's touching a little bit right here. I need to grind the lid down now. But I pulled out the bumper. Got a few little blow-through spots I need to touch up. But that's gonna be it. Tell you what, it's getting late. It's hot. I'm melting. It's gonna be slow going. I mean, this heat is brutal. Yeah, it's coming out. It is. So let me just wrap it up. All right, it's kind of a strange afternoon. With the heat, we got some bad weather blowing in, and you can see the skies look pretty ominous. My neighbors over here are still partying at the pool, and meanwhile, on the block next to me, I don't know if you can hear that, but that's a generator. They lost power. And what's in this box, in that box, that's a whole house generator and a transfer switch. I don't know if you saw my trying to cope and recover after Hurricane Ida last year, and I swore up and down I was gonna get a whole house generator. Well, I got one. I just need to get it installed. So yeah, it's just perils of living in South Louisiana, man. All right, so let me show you where I'm at. I'm gonna wrap it up for today. Let me show you. So I did the other side. I went ahead and I sliced it, brought down the trunk lid, and it's right there. I was able to push it in and got that all in alignment. So now I got the trunk, the curve of the trunk and the curve of the tail panel are both matching. So now that side's all ground solid. Now what's going to help this is when I put the weather stripping. When the weather strip is going here, that's gonna really hold this just right. So I need to wait a little bit before I really, fine tune it. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and grind this, get that smooth, and then I'm gonna cash in my chips for the night, and then come back out here tomorrow morning. So I usually post my videos on Sunday morning. I was getting to that habit. It ain't gonna happen this week. It's Saturday afternoon. I do have tomorrow, so I'm gonna go ahead and work on it on the car tomorrow, and I don't know, we'll see. But anyway, so I will see you tomorrow. All right, well, good morning. I'm at you from a different location right now. I realized as I was trying to put the trunk lid last night that I didn't have the latching mechanism. I have the latching mechanism stashed away with all the rest of the parts from Christine. And I brought the bumper home from the warehouse where all the parts are stored. And that's where I'm at now, picking back up the trunk latch, so that kind of slowed me down a little bit. But let me just show you a few quick things. This is the warehouse where Christine lived for a while. That's where the 71 Cutlass is right now. It's also where my little 11-foot Glenelg boat that I built during COVID with its 1958 Johnson 18 horsepower motor I rebuilt. That was a basket case. And for all my gearhead friends out there, all my watchers, that is not mine. That's my that's one of my coworkers. That's a 1971 Glasstron GT, I think they call it, and that is the exact same boat, the same model. It's a different color, but it's the exact same model of the boat that James Bond, that Roger Moore used in the movie Live and Let Die, to jump over the highway, and that was in South Louisiana. We know exactly where that was, and he managed to get a model of that boat, and so anyway, that's a project that needs a new floor, it needs new work. But anyway, we're here at the warehouse where all the parts are for Christine, and I have already located it. But what I needed was what is in this bag. That's got all the trunk latch mechanism, a lot of the emblems and insignias and whatnot. It's all from the rear of the car. So what I needed was that little device right there. And now that I have that, I can go back to Christine and finish fitting the trunk lid. So I'll see you in a minute when I get back home. All right, so I'm back at Christine. And I got my trunk latch mechanism, and right off the bat, I'm seeing a number of different problems. In that video, when I replaced this panel, this lower panel, it's an exterior skin, and there was an interior frame that goes all the way back to here, and that's what the trunk latch mechanism attaches to. So when it comes to the geometry of the trunk, the hinge, the body, the latch, none of that's changed from when I disassembled the car. The only thing that's changed is just the skin that's covering it. So when I go to slip this in, there's two holes that are here that this needs to bolt through. And when I put this in, the two holes that were pre-cut from this piece are about 3/8 of an inch too far this way. So the two holes that this screws into are actually where they need to be, but they're camouflaged, they're shielded. So I'm going to have to drill that. The second thing I noticed is that this cover plate, there's a cover plate that goes over this, and this, of course, aligns with the lower body, but it's close with this skin. The skin doesn't exactly fit the shape of this, so I'm going to have to adapt that a little bit. It's not too bad, but that's what I'm going to have to do. So I'm going to have to make those adjustments in order to get this in. And once I get this in, and this is actually fastened, and this is fastened in place, then I'll be able to bring the lid down to the bottom, and I will be able to align the latch that it connects to. So that's what we're doing next. All right, so now I'm inside the trunk, and I just want to make sure that this is going to come to where I need it to, because I need to weld this in place. So I've got my latch here, and it looks like I'll be able to make this work. Yeah. So if I weld it right where I've got it sitting, looks like that's going to work. But if you also look, you'll notice a daylight coming from in here. So there's a trunk pan, and that's the bottom of the tail panel, and there's a gap, and you can see all that, and that's what I need to bring together. So I know the tail panel needs to come down on the outside, and it was kind of interfering with the trunk. So I was worried about it changing this lip, and that's what I need to do. So I think I can take the bumper off and pinch those two, and then do what I need to do in here. I'm pretty sure I'm close. Let me climb out of this tomb. I pull the bumper off, and now you can see the gap I was talking about. It's right there. So I'm going to pull the tail panel down to the trunk. I've convinced myself that that's the right thing to do instead of bending the trunk up to the tail panel. So I'm going to try to find a way to spot weld that or weld that from underneath, but I got to clamp it in place to do it. That's what's next. All right, I put 4 clamps on it. Got the trunk pan lip pulled tight against the tail panel. Twisted it a little bit, but that's good because we closed the gap. And then my trunk still lines up. It's still lining up good. So now I'm going to go ahead and weld that. And then now that I have that in place, then I can get this in place. And then I think it shifted a little bit. It looks a little low, but anyway, that's where it's going to be. It's going to sit on the floor. And I'll weld that in place. And then when I bring the trunk latch down, I'll be able to adjust this and get that to clasp, but it's right where it needs to be. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, I got it. You can see penetrated, got good penetration, came through the heat. You know, it came all the way through here. And got it. Oh, look, it's Deuce. Hey, buddy. What you doing? Deuce. Oh, look, where's your sister? Come here, Josie. So look, Deuce gets a lot of airtime because he's always in my face. But this is his sister. Not really. They're not litter mates, but this is my baby girl. Hi, Josie. Hi, Josie. Josie wants to go inside because it's hot, huh? Huh, yeah, you do. Okay, let me let him in and we'll continue. All right, I took the piece to the bench and I drilled 7 holes there for spot welds, plug welds. I'm gonna put this piece right here. And what I did was I looked in my trunk and where this latch is, I put a mark. I'll put a pencil mark right here. Transferred, put a pencil mark right here. And that's where center is. So that's where center of this needs to be. So even though I pulled it out, I know exactly where it should be. Let's go ahead and get it welded up. Now the question is, does it work? So you're gonna get a first-hand glimpse of the mechanism. I can't even see what's going on here. So like the drive-in movies. Come on out. Coast is clear. Looks like it works. That nightmare of being locked in the trunk? I know I've had that one in my lifetime. But here we are, it's good. So I think the trunk is done except for the 2 patch ups, and I'm gonna do those probably off camera, but let's get this wrapped up. That's gonna do it. We're gonna close the door in another episode. Not even funny. Tell you what. If you're liking my videos, I appreciate you giving me a thumbs up. And if you're enjoying the channel, I'd appreciate a subscription. But that's going to do it for this one. Next time, next episode, we're probably going to start aligning the doors. We'll get into that. But anyway, appreciate everybody that watches my channel. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Until then, take care of yourself. Cheers.